In today's video, we're once again taking a look at all the rumblings, the things that can happen around the NHL draft. The 24 NHL draft is yet another week closer since we last talked about this topic. Today, we're going to go over all what we're hearing of trades regarding picks and players that we could see moved at the draft, and that's coming up next. So welcome back to another video here at Top Shelf Hockey. As I mentioned, we have lots to talk about today regarding some trade rumors for the NHL draft. All kinds of things have been percolating around the league, and there's been all kinds of different things being discussed since we last looked at this topic just over a week ago from now. Just a reminder, though, the teams with the most picks probably are going to be the teams that are the busiest at this draft, because obviously they have extra currency they can use, and most teams aren't going to leave a draft selecting 10, 12, 13 players, and which is a lot of teams that have that number of picks. So just a reminder on the teams that do have the most picks in the 2024 NHL draft is the new franchise in Utah, formerly the Arizona Coyotes. They've been compiling picks with lots of trades in the last couple of years. They have 13 selections. That's why a lot of people suggest that the Utah franchise very well could try to make themselves a big splash here at the draft. We know that under new ownership, they're in a new town, new city, new state, that they're going to want to make a big impact. And they want to see this team take a big step forward this year, be even more competitive, even more fun product to put on the ice than what we've seen in Arizona. They've been building in Arizona. They have become a fun team to watch with lots of young talent, and they're going to want to help them spend more money on the roster and the product and help it take it even further with what we've had. So 13 draft picks for Utah. You're bound to see them make at least a deal or two to try to bring in, a couple of NHL-ready players who can jump on the roster and have an impact right away. How big of a deal that's going to be, it's up for debate. I mean, not really certain. There hasn't been a lot of leaks and rumblings in the rumor mill around Utah, outside of the fact that all the insiders are saying that they believe that they're going to spend more money, they're going to want to make a big splash and put give their fans something to get excited about besides what they've already brought from Arizona. So look for them to be busy. Again, exact full capacity not known as of yet. The Flyers have 10 picks. The Habs have 12. Several teams have 9, including the Ducks, the Predators, the Senators, the Sharks, and the Kraken. They all have 9. So, again, unlikely to see those teams not deal at least a pick or two away. Sometimes it's not for players. Sometimes they combine picks and trade it for a higher pick and to move up in the draft. I know with the Philadelphia Flyers, for example, they're a team right now with 10 picks. With where they're at, I wouldn't be shocked if maybe we saw them try to make a move. But if you look at their roster and their draft currency here, there's some question marks around what they might do. Travis Konechny's coming up for an extension. Will they sign him? Could they consider moving him? I don't know that they're really actively looking to move him, but if contract extensions don't go well and he's commanding too much that they don't want to be comfortable paying, then it could lead to that, which would be a great time to see a trade come together. Of course, as I record this video, the NHL Draft Combine is going on right now in Buffalo, where you get the entire NHL, GMs and scouting people all in one spot. So at the end of the day, there's lots of conversations being had over the last couple of days and this weekend that are likely going to lead to things actually taking place at the draft or shortly after heading into free agency. So, this is a time when a lot of things are kind of put in motion. So, we'll get probably more and more rumblings here as the days go on coming out of the combine. Like I said, Montreal has 12 picks. They're a team that's fully expected to be busy. I know at the draft combine, Ken Hughes was interviewed and said, he was asked, do you think you're going to pull off another type of trade like you have the past couple of years? Like last year you get Kirby Dach, or 2 years ago Kirby Dach and Alex Newhook last year, and he said, oh yeah, I think we can make a big trade. Like he's certainly out there. He's not shying away from the fact that he would like to do the same type of deal again and find another top young talent to add to this team. Of course, Montreal, if they do that, they're going to want a top 6 forward. There's no doubt. They have tons of defensemen. They feel comfortable with their goaltending for at least the short term here. So with Montreal, I don't see them moving pick number 5. The 5th overall pick would take a substantial, phenomenal offer to have them consider that. But at this point, they have a second first-round pick from the Winnipeg Jets, number 26, that they acquired in that Sean Monahan trade. That pick there very much will likely be in play. I can see them using that maybe with a player to either move up in the first round or to go after another top 6 type of forward. I mean, there's lots of names that have been out there. They've been linked to some players, like whether it's Marty Necas, Trevor Zegras. Another name that doesn't get a lot of play that has been mentioned a little bit that I really think could be really possible is Kaapo Kakko. You got to remember Jeff Gorton, the senior vice president of the Habs. He was a Ranger when they drafted Lafreniere, and then, of course, Kakko after. So, he was fully involved with drafting him into the NHL. Obviously saw a lot of reasons to select him and to like his play. Maybe they try to get him at a discounted price to bring him to Montreal, see how he fits with their young talent. It's pretty likely that the Rangers do try to move Kakko because after it's been long enough now and things haven't really worked. We've seen Lafreniere finally take off. And unless they make some other moves and give Kakko more of a chance, I don't know. Because to be honest, Kakko is not like he hasn't gotten any top 6 opportunity. He has, and he hasn't really seized it. So, would it be shocking if he was moved? No, it wouldn't. And it wouldn't be shocking to me at all if he ended up with a team like Montreal, considering how much Jeff Gorton knows of him. But at the same time, they've been linked to a lot of other top young talent. I'm not convinced that Necas will be a Canadian. I don't know that they have what the Carolina Hurricanes are looking for. The Hurricanes do not want picks and prospects. They want another young dynamic player, preferably a forward. I think they would take a top young defenseman depending on who it was, but that's they've been known, according to Elliot Friedman, they want a dynamic young player coming back. So they're looking for more of a hockey trait, and Montreal doesn't really have that. Unless they're going to want to move Cole Caulfield or Nick Suzuki, which I don't see having any desire to do so, then they won't be able to get Marty Necas, in my opinion. So I think that trade's very unlikely. Zegras is more likely, but I'm not 100% convinced that goes down either. I can see both guys being moved. I'm just not sure that they have what the teams are going to want, or they're going to want to pay that price. Now at number 5 overall, the Montreal Canadiens have been rumored to look at a number of different players. There was some talk they were pretty set on Caden Lidstrom. Now a lot of scouts and a lot of the top draft people that obviously around the NHL, like Corey Pronman of the Athletics, has been pretty bang on with his mock drafts, especially the ones he's done closer to draft time, looking at his top 5, top 10 picks. He has them getting Ivan Demidov, the top Russian player, who's arguably by many considered the second best prospect in the pool of draft players, but not likely going to go as high because of the Russian factor, that they might be able to snag him at 5. It's pretty much sounds like Chicago and Levashunov is probably going to be a thing at number 2. You got Celebrini at 1. Then you got 3 and 4, which are kind of your question marks here. But the Ducks, a lot of people think the Ducks might go with Anton Silyev. And then you got maybe the Jackets go with Caden Lindstrom. I don't know. There's some concern around Caden Lindstrom too, because you've got some prospects at the draft combine that are not fully participating, with Caden Lindstrom being one of them. So, that gives you some red flags, and there's some red flags around his health and the history and everything. So I do wonder if he might be a player that ends up sliding. We'll see. We haven't really heard a team that's 100% sold on taking him. Whereas at one point Montreal seemed to be mentioned a lot, but now there's a lot of uncertainty. I mean, if you take a look at some of the other players too, like Zane Parak, who's expected to likely be a top 10 pick, he's not participating in the fitness testing, mainly because his season just ended. He was in the Memorial Cup with Saginaw. He's probably extremely tired from the long season. And Beckett Seneca as well, not doing testing, who was injured during his playoff run with his junior team, and is not at a point where he can do that either. So I do wonder if maybe Seneca might not go as high as some people thought he could, because he was looked upon as being a player, was a bit of a riser, but he might be a player that instead maybe slides a little bit because of the injury. It's hard to say. But Montreal definitely going to be busy for sure. Could they land Demidov and then at the same time make a trade to bring in a top 6 forward? It certainly seems reasonable. It's just hard to pinpoint who that top 6 forward is going to be, because they've been linked to so many different players. But definitely Jeff Gorton, Ken Hughes fully expect to be busy and fully expect to make a big splash for sure. Now, at the same time as well, we've heard New Jersey, number 10 overall. Tom Fitzgerald's made it pretty clear that pick is available for trade. I was even right through an article through NHL.com, not to mention all the insiders were talking about this as well. Who's it going to be? You would think that it could be for a goalie. That makes a lot of sense. I've heard some insiders say that it's not an absolute given that it is going to be a goalie, but to me, that's their most pressing need, especially if the Calgary Flames will change their mind, which is what the rumors were at the deadline when the Markstrom trade didn't go down to New Jersey, was because of salary retention. Well, if they will do that now, especially if they will eat 50%, would they not make sense to do the trade? I think the Devils would not trade 10 overall for Markstrom straight up, 1-for-1. The pick for the player. I don't think so. I think they would want more, considering taking on the full salary, his age, 2 years left. I think if the Flames eat salary and retain half, then they could do it straight up, 1-for-1. And if they do that, then the Flames suddenly, they're picking 9 and 10. Now they get 2 top 10 picks. Do they then combine 9 and 10 to move up higher even? Or do they take 2 of the top 10 players in the draft? I'm sure they really want to land Tisha Ginla, not to mention they'd love to get their hands on another player. So it could be a way for Calgary to really accelerate their retool here and rebuild. We know they've been selling off a ton of veteran players and are certainly looking to build for the future. If they can land a Ginla and get another player in that range, I think they would be absolutely ecstatic. And then, of course, the Markstrom saga would be coming to an end. They can finally let Dustin Wolf kind of have a chance to run with it and stay in the NHL for a full year. The Sabres are another team to watch as well. Their first-round pick, number 11 overall, is also available for trade. It's believed the Sabres really, again, want a top 6 forward. I have to think that, some of the names we've already mentioned could be players that they could be linked to as well. You have to think that the Sabres, they haven't necessarily been linked to Natchez that I've heard of, but if they wanted to trade one of their younger players, they would have the assets to do that. I got to wonder about Ukko-Pekka Luukkonen as well. He was really good in the second half of last year for the Sabres. Are they going to do they want to keep him and let him run with the net, or are they still that anxious to get Devin Levi in the net? Because if they made Luukkonen available, I wonder if the Hurricanes would jump on that and maybe try to move away from Freddie Anderson and go with Luukkonen and Kochetkov. I do wonder about that. I'm not sure how much faith the Hurricanes have in Freddie Anderson. As much as he's been a great regular season goaltender, the playoff results have not been there. And this year he let them down yet again. So, again, the Sabres, top 6 forward. If you're getting in on Marty Natchez, like I said, the Canes are not necessarily looking at pick 11. They want to win right now. I don't know that they would want to move one of their existing guys to make that happen. I don't think they'd want to take like Jeff Skinner back. I can't imagine. But outside of that, I'm not sure who the Sabres could be targeting. A guy like Trevor Zegras may make more sense for the Buffalo than it would be for like Montreal or New Jersey. We'll have to see on that. Clearly, they're looking to make moves to get back in contention and get back to being a playoff team. Hopefully next year. They were hoping it was going to happen this year, and it didn't happen. But that Sabres pick is definitely going to be up for grabs if the right deal comes along. Winnipeg is another team I think we should watch, where they don't have a first because they traded it to Montreal in the Monahan deal. But there is lots of rumors that Nikolai Ehlers is on the market. I wonder if that Ehlers trade could be for one of these picks. Now, I don't know if Ehlers is a great fit in Buffalo. He could be. New Jersey's another one. I think New Jersey would prefer a goalie, but still, if you look at some of the teams in the top 10 or 15, I do wonder if the Jets will try to get back into the first round with the Ehlers trade. We don't really know what they're looking for exactly on a return, so that could be part of it. We've heard a lot about Mitch Marner. Is Marner going to be moved? If so, the draft would be a prime time. I don't think anybody can really properly answer that question just yet, what the Leafs are going to do around Marner, but it'd be around this time that if it doesn't happen at the draft or before, then you start to think that it's less likely. Doesn't mean it can't come together. I mean, look at the Matthew Tkachuk, Jonathan Huberdeau, Mackenzie Weegar deal. That went down and much later into July, right? So deals like that do come together, but at the same time, the Flames were in a unique spot where they were told by Tkachuk that I'm not signing. So they, it was a not the same kind of scenario. But you got Marner, you got Zegras, you got Natchez, you got Linus Ullmark in Boston. Lots of names up there. Now we heard Jake Gensel's rights are available for trade as well. Again, not necessarily linked to the NHL draft, but a draft pick would likely be involved, because you're looking, if Carolina trades his signing rights, they're probably going to end up getting a third, fourth round pick for that. But another player that's going to be somebody to monitor probably in free agency, since it doesn't look like he's going back to Carolina after everything and all the talk that he was love to sign there. But at the end of the day, if they're not going to pay what he wants, I understand why that would be something he doesn't want to do. So we'll have to see where things go. But the NHL draft is going to be a very fun and busy time. We should see a decent amount of movement, I really think. So as we've talked about here today, I think the main teams to kind of watch, you got Montreal, you got New Jersey, you got Buffalo, you got Calgary. To some degree, Winnipeg. Wouldn't be surprised if the Ducks have the Zegras situation, not to mention like Utah and the Flyers have lots of picks, so they'll be busy. When it comes to Ottawa, again, they may, we know Jacob Chikrin's name has been out there. They really want to get a right shot defenseman, and it could be a case where if they think they can get that in free agency, maybe Chikrin is moved for a future base package. Hard to say, right? So, I mean, right now the Sens have a really young team with lots of talent. Their prospect pool is not the deepest, though, because a lot of these guys have already graduated. So, if they could find a way to snag another first-round pick or something to grab another solid prospect, they very well might do so, especially the last couple of years where they've given up first-round picks between Chikrin and DeBrincat deals that they've made. And unfortunately, the DeBrincat deal just didn't work out. Chikrin deal, I mean, he played well. I don't think there's any issues there. I think their main concern with him is long-term, what the contract's going to look like, and they just have too many left shot defensemen, and Sanderson and Chabot are already signed long-term. So it's makes more sense to move Chikrin from that perspective, unless they move Chabot, which again, haven't really heard too much about that. It seems like that seems less likely. So we'll see what happens here, but should be lots of activity. Those are your teams that I expect the most from. That's what the intel is telling us here right now. So let me know your thoughts on all of today's draft rumors down in the comments. We'll discuss further. If you're new to the channel, make sure you subscribe and stick around. We'll keep you up to date with the latest news, rumors, and analysis of all 32 NHL teams. Thanks for watching. I'll catch you next time.